This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
TradeFlow Capital Management is pleased to be one of the founding members of the Trade Finance Working Group launched on the 27th of January 2023. Created under the auspices of the Alternative Credit Council and AIMA, the Alternative Investment Management Association, the working group brings together alternative lenders in the trade finance sector to support the development of trade finance as an asset class, with the remit to raise awareness of trade finance amongst investors and address challenges to greater participation by alternative lenders in the sector. Joining this group aligns perfectly with TradeFlow's experience in this asset class and its mission to help reduce the growing trade finance gap faced by SMEs.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets.
OPEC Secretary General Haytham Al-Ghais said on Monday the collective decision to cut output in October was the right move and added that credit should be given to the OPEC Plus alliance for its constructive role in supporting global market stability. Due recognition should be given for our constructive and positive role in supporting global market stability, including to remind ourselves that the G20 and major consumers around the world commended us for our historical actions taken since 2020, Haytham Al-Ghais told Reuters on the sidelines of the India Energy Week conference. OPEC Plus agreed last year to cut its production target by 2 million barrels a day, BPD, about 2% of world demand, from November until the end of 2023 to support the market.
Indonesia will suspend some palm oil export permits to secure domestic supply amid rising cooking oil prices ahead of upcoming Islamic festivals, Senior Cabinet Minister Luhut Panjaitan said on his official Instagram account. Palm oil exporters had accumulated large shipment quotas from last year and they now had little incentives to supply the domestic market, he said. Indonesia, the world's top palm oil exporter, issues export quotas for palm oil companies which have sold a proportion of their products to the domestic market, under a policy known as Domestic Market Obligation, DMO.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
U.S. energy firms this week cut the number of oil and natural gas rigs by the most since June 2020, energy services firm Baker Hughes County said in its closely followed report on Friday. The oil and gas rig count, an early indicator of future output, fell by 12 to 759 in the week to February 3, the lowest since September. Despite this week's rig decline, Baker Hughes said the total count was still up 146 rigs, or 24%, over this time last year. U.S. oil rigs fell 10 to 599 this week, their lowest since September, while gas rigs dropped by 2 to 158.
Saudi Energy Minister Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman warned on Saturday that sanctions and underinvestment in the energy sector could result in a shortage of energy supplies. The European Union has imposed a series of sanctions against Russia, reducing Russian energy exports, and other Western powers have also imposed measures as they seek to further limit Moscow's ability to fund its war in Ukraine. In response to a question on how the sanctions environment would affect the energy market, bin Salman told an industry conference in Riyadh. All of those so-called sanctions, embargoes, lack of investments, they will convolute into one thing and one thing only, a lack of energy supplies of all kinds when they are most needed. Next, we have the top news in metal markets. Armed with the world's largest reserves of nickel and a ban on the export of nickel ore, Indonesia is making itself indispensable for the electric vehicle industry, which uses the metal extensively. In just 3 years, Indonesia has signed more than a dozen deals worth more than $15 billion for battery and electric vehicle production in the country with manufacturers including Hyundai Motor, LG Group and Foxconn. Next up is the mammoth Tesla Inc., the world's most valuable automaker. President Joko Widodo has pulled out all the stops to convince CEO Elon Musk to manufacture electric vehicles or batteries in the sprawling Southeast Asian archipelago.
Russians bought an all-time record number of gold bars in 2022, Finance Ministry data showed on Friday, as tax cuts on precious metals encouraged people to stock up on bullion as a safe asset. Moscow scrapped its 20% VAT on physical gold trades for individuals last March in a bid to draw people away from using the US dollar as a safe haven. It also exempted people from paying income tax on profits gained from selling gold bars, further boosting demand for the metal. According to the data, Russians bought over 50 tons of gold bars in 2022, 10 times more than the year before. The most sought after were 1 kilogram bars, which accounted for about 60% of those sold.
We will now look at the top news in the agricultural.
India's wheat plantings remained steady despite a rally in price of the staple to a record as farmers in a key producing central state shifted to rapeseed to take advantage of even higher prices for the oilseed, Farm Ministry data showed on Monday. A lower than expected planting area in the world's second biggest wheat producer may cap an expected rise in production, after output fell last year because of a heatwave that forced New Delhi to ban exports amid limited supplies from Black Sea region because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. A rise in rapeseed output could help the world's biggest edible oil importer reduce overseas purchases of palm oil, soy oil and sunflower oil. That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.